No.
Bro.
Holy
Good Sharpie.
Jesus! That's not real. That's not
some
real.
witchcraft, bro.
You ask the spectators to generate a random playing card in their mind. Now, before they even name the final card, you hand them a Sharpie for them to write down the thought of card. To their surprise, they find out that the Sharpie isn't able to write, and what happened next is crazy.
What the hell is going on?
Actual black man.
What the
Wow.
Hey guys, I'm Daryl.
I'm also Daryl.
and we're the other brothers, and this is Summit.
We teamed up with Patrick Kuhn to create the best card in Sharpie.
Now, it's not a selected card to Sharpie or a chosen card to Sharpie. There's no deck in play. This is a truly, genuinely thought of card in Sharpie. You have a Sharpie in your hand from the beginning, and the card they think of ends up inside of it.
And there's no equivocate or difficult methods. This is easy and amazing.
This is what Summit looks like. You walk up to your spectators and pull out a single Sharpie. This Sharpie never leaves their view from here on out. You then have them think of a card, and then you have them write down the card that they're thinking of. As soon as they take the Sharpie from you and start trying to write, they'll realize the Sharpie doesn't work.
So then you can grab the Sharpie from them at fingertips and be super fair, crack it open, and they'll see the rolled up card. This is where you get the no way. Then you pull it out, ask them for the first time to say their card out loud, and when they do, you unroll it and it's their card.
And there are no switches there. The cards don't switch, and there's no Sharpie switch.
Everything you see in the full performance is exactly what it looks like in real life. Nothing is set up beforehand.
Our favorite part about this is that the magician doesn't even know what card the spectator's thinking of until it's already out of the Sharpie.
Summit is the perfect combination of magic and mentalism.
And as with all Abstract Effects products, Summit comes ready to go right out of the box.
Summit gets that no way reaction before you've even revealed the card.
As soon as the Sharpie's open, people are freaking out already. This is truly a miracle for your spectators, and you're going to enjoy every moment of performing this.
That's amazing! Oh my god, wow!
What's up, guys? Thank you so much for buying Summit. We are so excited to have this in your hands and you guys start performing it, because this is one of our favorite tricks we've ever invented. It's been in the works for 2+ years and it's finally out. It was a lot of work for us to get out there, a lot of moving parts, a lot going on, and can't wait to show you how to do this hard-hitting routine. So right now you're probably curious what all these pieces are and everything else. So we're just going to get into and tell you exactly like a quick overview of what the routine is and how it works, and then we'll get into a ton of detail right afterwards. So in your box, you've got this, basically, and it's got some cards in it. We'll show you how to roll your cards up and everything. You've got a Sharpie without a back on, and these pieces go in just like this.
And then this is sized to fit right in your pocket like a flask, so that will go in there. And then you're ready to perform.
And so essentially now you get to start this routine with the Sharpie out. Now, a lot of our friends do equivocate for this part, but there's also forces and other ways to get into, but the main thing is you got to get them down to a court card. So the way we do that is this.
Yeah, we just say, I want you to picture yourself as a court card, which tells them, or not as a court card, I want you to picture yourself as a card, which tells them a court card, right?
Which
It works
90%
about-
of the time, 90% of the time, they end up saying a court card. So if you look at them and say, I want you to picture yourself as a playing card. Like if you were a playing card, what playing card would represent you? And 90% of the time they say a court card, and that's all you need for Summit.
And if you want to be a little bit more sure of that, you say, I want you to picture yourself as a card. Now, just because you're a girl doesn't mean you have to pick a girl. You can pick one of the guys. Now, that's another way. But once you're down to that, basically, you have them tell you which card, piece by piece. So you get them to tell you whether they're Jack, Queen, or King, right? Now in this index, it's set up so that you will know where it is. We'll tell you exactly how to do that in a minute, but I know it's one of the, say, kings. Okay, so we've got that. Next thing I'm going to ask is red or black. And once they tell you that, I'm able to pull out exactly the card in the black tube that I need.
Yes, and that's because here in this index, you've essentially got mispipped cards. So if you notice, the Queen of Spades is also the Queen of Clubs. And so with 6 cards rolled up in these tubes, you actually have 12 outs, which is all the court cards. And so once you got into a court card, once you know that it's a king, queen, or a jack, and you know the color, then you know which tube to pull out. And this Sharpie's been out the whole time, so I'll give this to Daryl, and he'll kind of show you the motions, but again, we'll get into more detail, but...
Yeah, so this has just been in your hand hiding that it's cut out at the back. Now I know that they're thinking of a red king. I still don't know which, and I'm just holding this in my hand. There's no, like, palm you necessarily have to do. Just hold it in your hand. Now, you tell them you're thinking of a red king, great, but I don't want you to tell me which ones. Instead, I want you to write it down. This Sharpie is going to go into this hand, and you're going to barely start the load right there, okay? So it's not pushed in at all. It's just in the back. And then you're going to go to this pocket and pull out a business card and hand it to them so that they can write on it.
And what's so cool about this is they actually haven't said their card. They haven't finished even thinking of their card yet because they're on like a black queen or something. And
yeah,
you
in this
said,
case, red king. Yeah.
Red king, right? And then you say, go ahead and write it down. Don't tell me your card. You're thinking of a card. Write it down.
Yep.
And the Sharpie's never left their sight.
And you're just here where this is fully extended but still hidden by your hand. Now you're going to take the cap off, and in doing that, that was the exposed view. You can see you're just pushing it in. As you take the cap off, take the cap back, put it on here. That totally covers this little black tip gimmick, which even if they saw that, as we know, that looks like a normal Sharpie. But covering that, give that to them. When they go to write, this Sharpie does not write.
So yeah, these Sharpies are completely dead. If your Sharpie's dead, it's completely supposed to be dead,
Yep.
100%, because you want the spectator to go, oh, it's not writing.
And you can take the Sharpie back from them and say, oh, it's okay. Sometimes these get clogged. And you just are going to gently pry it open, and this piece will wedge itself out. There we go. Just like that. Now you have this card. You could show them, they can see this. You could hand them this for them to hold on to, pull this out. I'm even bold enough to hand them the gray part to hold on to because there's nothing, they would really have to go looking. But you can also just show them inside and get rid of it. But now we're down to this, where
they still haven't
named
named their card.
Yeah.
They still haven't. So they forgot everything. They try to write down, it doesn't work. And then you can remind them that, hey, you've still never said your card. And they're like, at this point, they're already freaking out because like as soon as that card opens in the Sharpie and they realize that the Sharpie wasn't writing, and it freaks them out.
Yeah. So now you unroll it and you keep it to them. Oh, it was red jack, I forgot. So now you, the magician, are looking at the two outs. Here we have the jack of hearts and the jack of diamonds. Okay, so that's facing us. Now you ask them, and you can show them that it's just one card.
It's already opened up the back. Your hands are clean. This is the best part of this whole thing.
Yep, for the first time, name your card out loud. They'll say jack of hearts, and you can turn it like that, just covering this little corner. Now, something cool about whether it's red or black is you don't have to cover totally, just a little bit, right? That's enough to show them. Or if they said jack of diamonds, you can turn it this way. You get the same show, and boom. That was their thought of card that they hadn't said until you'd already removed it from the Sharpie.
Now, if you didn't pick up on all that and it was very fast and all over the place, that is okay, because now we're going to get into super amount of detail. We want to kind of give you an overview of how the effect works and how it looks, and now we're going to break down each piece by piece and get into more detail and different options for each step along the way.
So inside your package, to start, you're going to have fresh, unrolled cards that are mispipped. Now, all of these are going to be either red or black. In red or black, there's a suit that's most likely chosen. I'm sure you know from doing card tricks, the hearts and spades are the most likely to be chosen cards, and the clubs and diamonds are least likely. So I'm going to take advantage of that when I'm rolling it. I suggest you do too. You can just roll it however, but for me, I'm going to take the least likely to be chosen, the minor suits, if you will, and that's going to be what I roll up in the tube first. So taking your card, the first thing you're going to do is give it a very slight crease. I'll do this and then I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I've practically folded it on that white border line. So now it's just folded down. And then I'm going to fold it over again, trying to keep this super tight. Okay, there's our next. And we're just going to keep doing that all the way up the card. And what this does is, if in one of the versions that you want to perform where they say the whole card before you unroll it, if it's one of the ones that they're more likely to say, you can just unroll it and show them, because you can get to, in the unroll process, get to this point and they already see the card and everything.
Yeah, and then for the unveil process, we will show you how to manage a spectator unrolling it. Because if you guys saw in the trailer, there's actually a point where in real life the guy opened the card just totally okay because we handed it to him for him to open, and we'll get into all that too, which is super exciting stuff.
Yep. So that is all rolled up. You had something you wanted to talk about?
Yep. So then the Sharpie, really quick. So then this is going to get inserted into a piece in a second while Daryl is rolling that up. Now your Sharpie. There's some steps here that you got to do. Make sure you do in the right order so your Sharpie doesn't like bind up on you. Essentially, you're going to receive your Sharpie and you should be able to just gently rock that back and forth until it splits into 2 pieces. And this will now be an empty tube. And then here will be a point inside here. So that's how you would do it in performance, right? You crack it open and the card would be there and you'd be good to go. Now, when you're putting the Sharpie back, that is the most important thing. So you don't want to just put this back in like this. You don't want to just, with the cap and this piece and jam it in. You want to take them apart, put this piece in first. And that is important because it's going to click. And so now it's locked in there, and that's where you want to be. Now, don't worry about getting it pushed all the way to the last line on there because then you're going to get locked up, and that's not where you want to be. So then, once this is in good, then the cap can then go on top. And now you're sitting perfectly flush. And then when you take it off, all you're going to do is just give it a little wiggle, and boom, there you go. There'll be your card. There's this piece. Again, don't just jam it in this way because it's likely to get stuck. Take it apart, put that piece back in. It's locked in, and cap goes on, and you have no seam, and you're ready to go with the back missing still. But that's where the next piece comes in.
If you're watching this because you stopped watching earlier, then you went and jammed your Sharpie in, and you're like, "What? My stuff's broken." Like, the reason we're saying don't do it all like that is because what will happen is this black tip will get jammed inside of the Sharpie cap. And they can become locked. I mean, in a normal Sharpie use, they're never separated like that, so it's nothing that any of us has probably ever experienced. But if you do take Sharpies apart a lot, like we tend to do, you know that pushing the cap onto the nib will get it stuck. Now,
Yep, because like right here, I'll just kind of do it for you guys. Look, if I squeeze that in, now this is going to be very hard to get out. I'm going to have to, well, that one actually came out kind of nice, but sometimes they'll just bind up real badly like that. There it is.
And then what you can do is just, I mean, this is not going to be an ideal thing for if you're table hopping or whatever, but you can work it out like Daryl's trying to do.
Which would just be grabbing and then twisting the cap and giving it some oomph until it pops out.
You can get needle nose pliers and pull on it. Just be gentle, not to like totally mash up your gimmick, but that is something that, because we opted to use a real Sharpie to make this as real as possible, there is some things with the Sharpie that just are what they are. So.
And then when also just a tip here, we'll get into this more later, but once you're taking this cap off, don't just like break it in half because you can break it. So that's why you see every time we do it's a little bit of a wiggle.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and if you do break anything, all of this is made from a real Sharpie. You can take a piece of Sharpie and make it just the same. If you have to replace the cap, nothing you have to do to it. If you have to replace the black piece, a little bit of this black piece has been cut off. So normally it extends out to about here. We've cut it off to make it easier to remove so that in practice and performance, you're not looking like a, not looking like a dummy trying to pop that apart. And if you do put too much force and you do crack the gray part, that's okay. It's just a normal gray part of a Sharpie. You can take that out, take the ink out, very carefully cut that back end off, and then you'll have to use something to scrape out the inside. We got a drill bit that was just the right size. That's how we did it. I've done it in the past with an X-Acto knife, but whatever method you use, be sure you are being super careful because, tools.
And my personal copy of Summit that I carry with me actually has a gray barrel cracked already, and I just keep using it, honestly. So if you do break your gray barrel, there's also the potential to just keep using it. It's a little looser, and I personally kind of like it, so it's really up to you. Yeah, that's your gimmick. And then the last thing would be getting this rolled up card into one of those black insert pieces, which are going to complete your Sharpie.
Yep. So when you have a freshly rolled up card, if you've rolled it nice and tight, it should just fit in. But if you've just performed it, you've just unrolled it, you've just showed everybody this card, covered that and everything. Now it's not quite so tight. So you want to show them how you get that in there?
Yeah. So basically then I'll just roll it up kind of whatever, because if you're trying to go back, and now it's way too big to fit inside anything, but then all I'm going to do is grab in the middle and then twist one end until the other end pokes out like that. So it's basically just like that.
So it's going a little bit skew, but it's made a nice taper to it.
Yeah, so now I got a really thin point, which I'm able to just insert. But you don't want it to kind of come out like that because that looks like rolled up. So all you got to do now is once it's in all the way, all you got to do is grab the top, hold the base, and rotate it back a few times. And eventually you'll get back to perfect flat. Make sure it's all the way in there, and you've got a fully set gimmick that's really easy to get into.
To be honest, it's your choice though, because it does flare out a little because we made the inserting end narrow. The other end is a little bit wider, so it would be harder to put into this part of the Sharpie. But if you find in practice that you can do it and you like the haphazard look of a card rolled up and shoved in a Sharpie, then by all means, that's your prerogative. The last thing to do is once you have this piece set up is to put it back in the index. Now, like we said, this is shaped like a flask, so it'll sit in your pocket and just right against your leg, not make too much like marks, obvious. Like you can see when somebody has a phone in their pocket. This is going to look a little bit cleaner because it'll follow the contours.
Yep.
And then we have it just set up like this: jacks, queens, and kings, with the red cards on my right as I'm performing it, red on my right.
Right here. And so again, set these up in any order that you know. And what's so cool about this too is that we'll get into all the ways you can pull this out of your pocket, but here it is in your pocket with your Sharpie. You know how to operate this. You know how to get this set up. You pick your order. We told you how ours goes. Just make sure you know where those cards are in here, and you're ready to go. All right, so now we're gonna go step by step in the full routine, give you as much detail as possible as we go through it so that you won't have any questions going forward and you'll be able to pick what things you like the best and how you're gonna perform this. So this is our gold standard routine. We've done this so many times at conventions, at lectures, on the street, back when bars were a thing, we used to do it all the time. And it's really, we've honed into our favorite routine. This is definitely what we think is the best way to perform it. Obviously, until we get it into all of your hands, and then somebody always fools us with it. So if you come up with a better routine, please tell us about it. We're excited about it. So,
all right. So the setup that I do is I put this in my right pants pocket. Depending on my outfit, if I have a jacket pocket, I sometimes opt to put it in there. But either way, because I'm right-handed, I want this on my right side. So I'm just going to put it in my jeans pocket for now. And then this. Again, depending on my wardrobe, I like to put it up here if I have a pocket up here, or I'll put it in my left pocket. But whatever way I put it so that when I pull it out, I'll be able to hide this. So in a pocket up here, it would be like that, so that when I pull it out, it's immediately in my hand with that being hidden. If it's in my jeans pocket, I'll turn it the other way, so that when I go into my pocket and pull it out, again, the cut off end of the Sharpie is hidden in my hand.
And now the most important thing, this is actually part of the setup, because you do not want to start this trick until that Sharpie is in your hand. You don't want to be asking them about cards or anything until that Sharpie's already out. So it's one of the pieces of setup that we need is...
Yeah, the last piece of setup is I have a double blank business card. It could be your business card that you're going to let them keep, because the great thing is after this routine ends, they're left holding this in your hand. You can collect it from them if you want, or if it's your business card, leave it with them.
And they're not going to write on it. They think they're going to write on it, but they end up not because the Sharpie's dead. So
yeah. So I mean, if you're out performing and you find out you've lost this, you've left it with your last spectator or whatever, and you only had one, you can go the David Blaine style and tell them to write on their hand, and nobody's actually going to write on their hand, so that's really fine. You can just get a piece of trash or whatever you want them to write on. The Sharpie's not going to actually write on it. So even like give them your driver's license to write on it. It doesn't matter.
And then basically the important thing of where this goes is just make sure that it's in a different pocket than where your index is, and preferably on the other side of your body. Actually, I think kind of has to be on the other side of the body for this routine specifically.
Yep. So it's two things. It's on the same side as the hand that you'll be holding the Sharpie with, which is on the opposite side of where the index is.
And you've got that pulled out, and now you're starting a magic trick. Oh, I'll show you a cool holding. So Daryl, I know, likes to be in this deep grip because that allows it to mimic it when he switches hands for the load. I personally like being like way more open with it, and so I just hide everything inside these two fingers. So unless you're below me, I mean, even then you can't really tell. And then I'm able to show around like this. Like I've got nothing in my hand. I'm asking you these questions, and you've got the end completely covered. So whatever you're more comfortable with, just some different options.
Yep. So we're here. Like this is where I like to be. But I come out and I say, we're going to do a magic trick. I want you to pick a card, but I'm not going to bring out a deck of cards. There's no cards for this trick. I want you to just think of it. So I want you to imagine yourself as a card. So I know that you're a guy watching this. I don't think you have to not pick a girl card if you want. It's up to you. So what do you want? Jack, Queen, or King? That's a more forceful way of getting them down to Jack, Queen, or King if you want. So anyways, the point is that I'm not asking for the suit at all. I just want to get the value right now.
So you just want to get the value, and that's important. And most people will find that kind of not a big deal, not super suspicious, because you're very open about it. And you say, okay, I want you to imagine yourself a card. Like if you were a card, what card represents you the most? And like, again, 90% of people are just going to say Jack, Queen, or King. And the thing you're going to do is you say, I don't want you to tell me your card. So this is what it would look like. I'll do it to Daryl. I'll say, Daryl, I want you to picture yourself as a card, okay? As a playing card that would represent you in a deck of cards, okay? And I say, okay, so now I don't want you to tell me what your card is, but I want to know, like, was it like a Jack or a King, or what'd you pick?
Just to mess it up, I'm gonna say, I picked a 7.
A 7. Okay, no. I want you to pick like a Jack, Queen, or King, like one of the people cards.
Oh,
and then you
yeah,
tell me
course.
which. Now, just because you're you doesn't mean you can't pick the Queen or can't pick. You know what I mean? So what it doesn't matter. Just pick a random one in there and be thinking about it. You got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I will.
So what do you want to be? The Jack, Queen, or King?
King.
King.
Yeah.
Okay, then you want to be a Black King or a Red King?
Oh, a Red King.
Red
for sure.
King. Okay, great. And now I'm at the stopping point. And that's where you need to get to right here. Is to the point that you know it's a Red King or a Black Queen or a Red Jack or whatever. You need to get here.
And you need to be, it's very important that you iterate to them, one, so that they remember, and two, so that they don't blurt it out, that don't tell me the card. Okay? Even though it's funny, they've narrowed it down to really just 2 choices. You can tell them, don't tell me the card, and that's exactly how it comes across. So now I know, because we're down to a Red King, that's the kings for me are in the middle and the red is on the right. So I'm gonna as I'm doing this whole talk where I'm figuring it out, what I do is I let this hand rest in my pocket and I put my fingertips on the cards. So on the black part of the card.
You want me to hold it up here, and then we can pretend it's in your pocket and you can kind of do your fiddling?
Sure, yeah. So what I would do is I would say, great, we're going to do a card trick. I want you to think of a card. We're not going to actually use a deck. So instead, I want you to picture yourself as a card. Don't tell me exactly what card, but what value did. And then at this point, my hand would go into my pocket as I'm talking. So it's not like an obvious thing, but my hand would go into my pocket and just rest here. And so what was the value of the card that you picked?
Jack.
Jack. That's the outside one. So I'm just going to be touching those. I say, great. So you have a Jack. Now, do you want to be a Red Jack or a Black Jack? That's up to you.
Red Jack.
Red Jack, great. And now I can immediately go for it because I don't have to now go into my pocket and count from one side or the other. I was doing that as he was talking. So now I can immediately pull the Red Jack, you said. And that just goes in my hand. My hand comes out. I can gesture still. I make my hands kind of match as I gesture. You don't want to like flash or get into some weird grip, but I just here, relax. Okay, great, red card. Now, Red Jack, I don't want you to tell me which one you're thinking of. Instead, I want you to write it down. Now comes for the load. So with this rolled up in this hand, I need to go into my left pocket to get something for you to write on. That's the like unspoken justification. This needs to move hands. So now I'm trying to, but I'm not stressing myself out. I'm trying to just hit it like that so that it's inside. If you don't, right, no worries. Don't stress. Don't break your concentration. Don't break your flow of what you're saying. You're just going to relax. You come in here, get the card, and now I can start adjusting my hand. So I'm moving the Sharpie around. All the heat's over here, and I'm handing this to them. Or I'm showing it to them, because there's a couple options you have here. Now that I have it in the part, I'll push it up about as far as I can, without like.
And there's no
looking
rush to like
awkward.
jam this in right at this moment.
Yeah. So I say, great. I'm going to have you write it down right here, and that is my favorite way to push it in the rest of the way.
Great, and actually here, this is I want to go back one step because I do the load different, but I can get to this same stopping point with you because I do it a little bit different. And this would be just something as you get more familiar with your index. So what I like to do is if this is in my right pocket here, pretend this is in my right pocket, and I've been having my Sharpie out here. My hand still goes to the pocket at the moment that Daryl's does, and I'm still feeling right. Kind of, they say Queen, and I go great. I'm still talking, chilling, and they say Black Queen. So I know my Black Queen's here. What I do at that moment is I just lift it up. And I just leave it in my pocket. I mean, normally I would just pull it all the way out because it'll still live in your pocket up because your pocket has enough, space. If you have tight jeans, if not, just pull it up to there. So it's raised up and you kind of know where it is. I leave this in my pocket. Both hands come back out. So now both my hands are out and I say, okay, so you're thinking of a Black Queen. I say, but don't tell me what card exactly you're thinking of. I want you to write it down for me. And so now I've got time to go into my pocket and I'm pretend like I'm looking for the notebook or the business card or whatever for them to write on. And then I've got this one there, so I kind of fiddle around. I get it out. I get it into this position, right? Same as Daryl's, where you're able to basically death grip it from all sides, where you're not going to flash it. Kind of lives in the middle of your palm. There, cover it up, and you're pretty much good. So I say, oh, and I'm digging through this. I want you to write down the card. And I say, oh, and I switch hands now, and I like do this, like not gag, but like I forget that the notebook's in this pocket or the business card's in this pocket. So it's fiddling around. I say, oh, it's actually over here, and then I pull out the business card, and now I've been loaded. So essentially, and if you get better with your index, you don't have to do that first part either. You can just know where they are, and as you're fiddling for your notebook, you pull it out and be like, oh no, it's over here. And now you pull out your business card. So really just some options, and then we end up at the same spot. Oh, actually, one other difference. Daryl does his with the tapping, which is awesome, flies by completely.
It's in the trailer, actually. If you watch it, you'll see the
insert get in it, even in the trailer. You actually see the insert go into the Sharpie. And so the way I like to do it is as I take the cap off. So what I do is I grab the cap, and I'll give you guys the exposed view, and I just come in and then pull. And now you're clean. And again, I don't hide this because I use double cross as well. So all my Sharpies look like this. So I just like whatever about it. And then you're capped, and then you're at the same spot that Daryl was just at.
Yeah, and then I'm sure as many people are watching this, that's how many different loads there'll be. But from here, the other option is here. I want you to write on this, and then I just tilt this hand up, and I just start walking it down as I hand it to them, because this is where the attention is, because they're actually having to take it from you. So you can just walk this down, and like you don't even have to worry about it. Then you also have the choice, like Daryl, all of his Sharpies have this black cap at the end. You could just hand them this, because nobody's going to try to open a Sharpie by pulling on this.
Yep.
The first thing they're going to do is pull that and then do that.
Cap it themselves.
Yeah, they're going to do that work for you, or you can do it for them and be...
Depending on your paranoia level.
Yeah.
We found magicians all have different levels of paranoia.
But then essentially they get handed this gimmick with one way or another. This ends up on the back, or it doesn't, and it doesn't matter. And you're going to have them write down their card. For the first time, they've never said their card, even though we know in the realm of what it is, they've never said it.
And so the trick style has really started for these people, which is great, because you've done a lot. I mean, you've done a real lot. You've been shuffling pockets, getting your index. But realistically, these people they don't know what they're seeing. They haven't got to the point yet where they've even said the card, and they think they're about to write down to start the trick. So, and this all happens quickly, too. I mean, you can see in the trailer, it's just so fast. And so now you're at this point already, and you're done. You don't have to do anything. This is the best part about this.
Yeah, so they're going to go to write. These nibs have been soaked in glue, so they can't write. So try as they might. Something we found, if you do, as we talked before, you can replace any of this. It's just a normal Sharpie pieces. If you don't dip the nib in glue, then even if you dry it out and you rinse it with water and you try to get all the ink out, it'll still mark just a little bit, which
for people to save the embarrassment of them being like, oh, the Sharpie doesn't work, they'll just like barely write it out and think that's good enough, which you don't want them. You want them to be like, oh, this isn't working at all, which is why they're glued.
Yes, because that's where we want to go. They're trying to be nice to you and like save you from being like, your stuff is broken, dude.
Yeah, so they don't want to say that, but this is a great awkward moment, because like they have to speak up, and you're just still talking. Oh yeah, so you're thinking of a car, go ahead and write that down. Yeah, I'm gonna work on you next. And they're like, and you're like, what? And then that's a really good moment. So
now it doesn't write. You're like, okay, let me take the Sharpie back from them.
And now this is where you need to be as clean as you possibly can, because as soon as this happens, people are I didn't really understand this, and I don't know where they would think this, because the idea of a card in a Sharpie is so magic, like magician thing to think of. But at this moment, when you say, oh, wait, let me take the Sharpie back, for some reason, every spectator we've ever done this for intuits that there's going to be a card in there, which is awesome, because they're already freaking out, and you've already won, and just don't ruin it by like putting this Sharpie all the way into the deep recess of your hands again. And
then the other thing is, you're just taking the Sharpie back. You're leaving them with your business card, right? So they don't even realize that you've like given them your business card. But so then you come to here, and like we said before, be super clean about it. Yeah, and then I mentioned like, oh, sometimes these things get clogged. It's not my fault, not Sharpie's fault. And then you just wiggle it to pull that out. And then when you get to here, it pops open. And again, like a point to note, my palms are facing them, right? There's no way
There's not like this and switch in.
I didn't open the Sharpie like this and be like, oh, a card, interesting. No, it's all like this, and these cards stick out a little bit, which makes it good to grab, makes it good for this moment, because they're gonna start freaking out right now. You haven't even you don't know their card yet. They haven't told you their card yet.
And you reiterate it right now. Now's the time to be like immediately be like, okay, now think about this, and you reiterate. You never told me your card yet. And they're like, no, I haven't, because they really know they haven't.
But they already are giving you credit for this being the card. Now,
yeah, so it's like you're trying to reel back the attention at this moment. Really, like every time we do this, it's like no, because if they look away for too long, and this is a weird thing that like. They're reacting, and if they react too much and look away, then they're actually not going to react again when he pulls up. Because they're like, oh, maybe he switched it while we were like looking around. And you don't want them to think that because you're not going to switch it. It's really there.
Yeah, so again, super uber clean is you're going to pull this out, and it can be tough. That's okay. There you go. I like to show them inside the Sharpie. Now, technically, it's all gray, and there's a black thing in there, but it looks like shadow. And especially with the cap right there, like everything lines up. I show them that. And I can give them that, or I can pocket it. So now we're here where we have the card, and it's you haven't told me. I know it's a black queen, but for the first time, I'm gonna unroll this. Just one card inside the Sharpie. Everything that they think it might be.
Because they think you're switching it. At this point, they think you're switching it, and at this point, they still haven't named the card, and you've got it all the way open, and all you're gonna do is turn to show them. So this is great.
Yeah. So. Still haven't said your card. I don't have 52 cards rolled up in that Sharpie. It's just one for the first time. What card did you think of?
Queen of clubs.
Queen of clubs. And then I'll just turn it over like this and show, and it's clean.
Yes, guys, if you frame this right, it's all about the wording. You can't just ask these questions and get to the end. But if you get to the end and you framed it right, where it's like, don't tell me your card, don't tell me your card, still haven't told me your card, still haven't told me your card. It's open, tell me your card, and boom. It's like, it just blows them away. Now, something crazy here is that we can add to is if
before we pivot, let me just point out how my hand is holding. Because cool. with a diamond, the bottom of a heart and the bottom of a diamond are both a point, and the bottom of a club and the bottom of a spade are both 2 bumps with a foot coming out of them. So you can hold this even though you're seeing half of a spade right here.
It looks just like a club.
It looks just like a club. This completes the image, so you don't have to be like, is that your card? Right, you can really reel it back and do it to a point where, like, almost by feel. And even if you're flashing it a little too much, where a magician might notice that's a spade because it doesn't quite lump out the way a club does, for a lay audience, even that is perfect. And that's like way too much. But that would fly by just perfect. They would see the top. All your attention and focus is at the top, and you lose the card.
And you're good to go.
But you had another point, I think.
Yeah. So this is how I like to reveal it, because I like putting it in their hands to let them reveal it, and I like a little extra moment of okay, because here's the thing, is at this moment, and you really end up with a truly impossible bit. You end up with the fact that they almost think this isn't real, and that's why it gets such good reaction, because they're like, well, that can't be my card. I literally haven't said my card yet, right? And I'm looking at the club and the spade, and I know. Now, so what I want to do is actually add some disbelief to them, because I want them to agree with them that no, this obviously wasn't possible. This could not be your card. There's no way this could be your card, because that would be real magic, right? So what I do is I unroll it. I reiterate, same thing, everything. It says, hey, you never told me the card, right? And they're like, no. And they're like, no. And then they tell me, I say, Queen of clubs, Queen of spades, Daryl?
Queen of clubs.
Queen of clubs. And I go, yeah, that couldn't be your card. And I start to roll it back up. Okay? And I rolled it back up. And then it gets a big laugh. I still stay very clean with it, leave it out. And I'm like, here, I was like, yeah, I got close, or whatever you want to say. And they take it, and you direct them now. So let me pretend this is Daryl. I say, okay, actually. And I reel them back in now. No, it really is your card. I say, here, hold this. I say, no, wait. So I want you to very slowly start to unroll it. And already, like every single person stops before they unroll the whole card. As soon as they see it, for some reason, we've tried it. I've tried to break it. Every time I do it this way. And every time they get to this point and they freak out. And even if, I think like one time they open it up all the way, it doesn't matter, because they've already reacted to the fact that it's the Queen of clubs.
Yeah, and on that time, it was my favorite. It was like lovely, because the guy unrolled it and went, no way. And his reaction made everybody else react. They didn't have to see this, and they were already like crazy. And then he unrolled it all the way and showed it just like this. But everybody was busy reacting. Like,
it's because they're not looking for Miss Pip. They don't know about Miss Pip.
Yeah, and I mean, I quickly took it and showed. I was like, here, let me show them, right? Like, as soon as that. But 100%. I mean, you can let it sit for a second. It doesn't really hurt it. And then another option for before you unroll it, because if you took care to know, like we rolled it so that the most commonly chosen was out, then you can get to this point where you're not unrolling it. So I just pulled it out and I say, now you haven't said your card for the first time. What was your card? Queen of Spades, more likely than not. Then I can just give them that, which is really cool. Or if they do say Queen of Clubs, I know I've got to make an adjustment because that was the least likely to be chosen. And then it goes much the same way Daryl said, where I unroll it, I go, no. You really, what card you pick? Really? Queen of Clubs? Here, you check.
And now you've rolled it back the opposite way, so the first thing they're going to see is the spade now.
Yeah, and then again, tell them to do it slowly because that lets them get to this point where they're burning, and they're like, oh my gosh, and they don't even unroll it all the way.
And that's pretty much it. That's our whole routine right there. Now, we're going to get to the next section, which is going to be the equivocate and where the inspiration of this came from with Patrick Kuhn's Instagram. And we're going to get into that right now. This has been in the work for 2 years. And 2 years ago, this trick was created by Daryl and I, but it was heavily, deeply, and truly inspired by Patrick Kuhn's Instagram.
Yeah, if you have his Instagram, I'm sure you can see the crossover in this. But this, I think, takes it to another different level.
And this is Instagrab with a B. It's a trick that he sells, and you should go pick it up from him, and it is great.
The way that he originally taught it didn't mention keeping the card a secret till the end. Because there's a great thing with cards like this where they're mispipped on the corners that you can get down to a point and stop getting information before you do everything. I know later he had Instagram too, and I know he put out other stuff with it. That's where I think he started mentioning the keeping this bit a secret, because it's so great that you have this chance and opportunity to say, I don't know your card, but here's this physical object that I'm gonna
to show you.
Yeah.
And so that's some of the things we added to it, but we're just gonna go beginning to end what this equivocate looks like, and this is a great alternative. And if you stay through this base explanation, then I'm gonna explain to you the absolute best way to do summit if you're ever on any kind of TV or even on stage or whatever. This is gonna be a great way to do it there based on this equivocate.
Yeah, so the way that I used to do Instagram walk around all the time, and now I'm doing summit, but the way that I do this equivocate that Daryl and I have worked on and figured it all out, and I know he performs it the same way too, is this. We say, I'm going to do a magic trick with a deck of cards, but I'm not going to use a deck of cards, or I don't have a deck of cards.
And Sharpie's out in your hand just like before.
Yes, yeah, very important. So now we get to the we don't have a deck of cards, so we have to improvise is the idea behind it. So I want you to imagine you have a deck of cards, and I want you to take out some cards. So either take out the number cards or the picture cards. It's up to you.
Now this is hardcore equivocate. You've given them no indication of what takeout means. And it's going to be just you're just ramming the equivocate down the throat, which is okay. And we'll get into the why that's okay and why this is so much better than most equivocates. But first step is you have to equivocate them. So you say, do you want to take out the numbers or the picture cards?
Right. And so they say the numbers. You say, great, we're going to take out the ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're all gone. And we're redefining what take out means.
Yep. And so now that and just so you have the flip side, equivocate is a little hard to explain, but I think we'll try and get through it, right? So the first part is that. The other option they can say is they say, oh, I want to take out the core cards. And then you say, great. So you've got all the core cards in your hand. All the other cards have been gotten rid of. You took out the core cards.
Yeah. And I even iterated that point just because some people think aces could be, depending on who you're performing for. So I say, great. So you took out the court cards. So you have the jacks, you took out the queens, and you also have the kings. And I like to do something subtle where I'm as I'm saying it, I change my words. So you took out the jacks, you took out and you have the queens, and you have the kings. So each step was a slow, subtle move towards take out means you have.
Yep. And so now you've essentially, and they might even be a little confused and whatever, and that's totally okay. Now, most equivocates will then continue changing what the words mean. Well, the great thing about this is you've already forced them down to your bank of court cards.
Yeah, because there's 12 choices now, and that's all the choices that you have, so you're done.
So now that they're sitting there with the king, you're done. Now, what you have to avoid the temptation, and this isn't good, is you just say, now pick any of those court cards. You can't do that, because, you technically can, because they can then think of any one of them. But
it makes that first step of equivocate stick out like a sore thumb and be, to their eyes, unnecessary.
Yep. And so you're going to continue this equivocate, but holding on to the logic that you use depending on what they pick. So, for example, in this example, let's say that they took out the number cards.
Yeah, so that means take out always means get rid of, and we're going to continue on. So
And you keep saying those same words. Take out, get rid of. Take out, get rid of. Yep.
So you took out all the number cards. You have the jacks, queens, and kings left. What do you want to take out? Take the jacks out, or the kings, or the queens? Which are we getting rid of?
And you tell them, yeah, which one are you getting rid of? As soon as you say jacks, queens, or king, we're going to get rid of them.
Yeah, so they say jacks, boom, they're gone. Now we have queens and kings. Which one are we losing now? Queens, boom, they're gone. You just have the kings left. Now we have red kings or black kings. Which are we getting rid of now? The black kings or the red kings? Your choice. Red kings, boom, they're gone.
Yep. And now it feels like the logic has never changed. You just didn't clarify until after the first choice, but then every single step, when you got multiple steps, right? Eliminate one court card, eliminate the other court card, eliminate the color. You got 3 more of the exact wording. The opposite of that now is if they said, okay, take out the court cards.
Yeah, so you have the jacks, the queens, and the kings. Those are the ones you took out. Now I want you to take out one of those. So do you want to take the jacks, the queens, or the kings?
And then you remind them, whichever one you take out, you're keeping and is yours.
Yeah.
And now you've added this other step. So.
Yeah, so now they take out the queens. You're like, great. So we have red queens and black kings. I want you to take one of those. That'll be yours, the red queens or the black kings. Which do you want?
Yeah, which one do you want for you? Take out the one that you want for you. And you keep reminding them because it doesn't matter, this choice.
Yeah, and if there was a little bit of weirdness at the very top of this equivocate process, that totally gets eliminated because maybe you weren't quite so clear at the beginning, but you get clearer and clearer, and until you're like hammering it home, like whichever one.
And it's all consistent, which a lot of equivocates aren't consistent because it's like, this means that, this means that.
Yeah, like a bad equivocate is, okay, we have a deck of cards. I want you to pick red or black. Black, we eliminated. Okay, so we have hearts or diamonds. Pick one. Hearts, great, we keep the hearts. And you're like, what's
happening? Yeah. So you don't want that. This is why Patrick is such a genius, is because this goes in a line just like that, perfect, after your very first equivocate. So that's it. I'm going to tell you now about how to do it on TV.
Yeah.
So this is a great way to even get rid of that first equivocate, because when TV's happening, like sometimes hosts won't let you mince your words. They won't let you, so you got to disguise the equivocate in actions and actions that make sense. So what this is going to look like, again, Sharpie will be out, and I'm going to perform this for Daryl, and we'll imagine that he has another person to his left. And I'm on a panel, because most TV shows would be 1, 2, 3 people like
Just
this.
a quick note, this isn't exclusively for TV. If you're table hopping and there's a group of people that you're performing for, even though there's no cameras around, that has nothing to do with it. It's just this setting of multiple people that you're performing for.
Yeah, I guess that is true. If you're performing for multiple people, this is a great way. Again, if you're going on any kind of Good Morning America, anything like that, this is definitely the way. And for any group. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all my attention on one person for this. I'm going to say, you're going to help me out here. We're going to find you a card, and it's going to be awesome. Okay? So I've got all the cards. I want you to imagine we have a full deck of cards. Okay? And I want you to hand Jim, who's this invisible person over here, I want you to either hand him the number cards or the court cards. Okay? And I said, you just hand them to him. Which ones do you hand Jim?
I gave him the number cards.
Okay, so now if he hands Jim the number cards, I am never, ever, ever going to speak or look at Jim again. Okay, for real. So
For the rest of the trick,
For the
at
rest
least.
of the trick, at least, maybe ever. We don't know. so I say, so you hand. So let's go again. So I say, same way. So I'll say, okay, which cards did you hand Jim?
I hand him the number cards.
Great. So now you've got Jack, Queen, Kings left in your hands. Okay,
Yep.
I want you to hand him the Jacks, Queen, or the Kings. Pass them off to him.
Kings,
Okay, what do you have left in your hand now?
jacks and queens,
Okay, hand one off to him.
queens,
What do you have left in your hand?
jacks.
Okay, hand either the reds or the black ones.
Cool.
What do you have left in your hand now?
I have the red jacks.
Okay. You know what? Don't tell me your card now.
Well, wait, because now you still would carry this on with, I want you to, don't tell me. Yeah.
Oh,
I think
right,
you're
right.
about to say
Oh,
it. 'Cause
yeah,
it's
you
like,
could. Yeah,
hand
100%.
him the last one. So now you have one card, but
Don't tell me. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Sorry, yes, 100%. So you say, hand him the last card. And don't tell me, because they've been transparent this whole time. You say, I don't know. They're there. And now you've already loaded in your thing, same way we talked about this and this, and you've got it. Now, the alternative way of this is if you do need to pay attention to Jim. So so let's say, and this is where we're talking about, it's like a physical equivocate kind of thing, because it's not my words are never changing. So I say, Daryl, you got the the number cards and picture cards, and I want you to either hand the numbers or the picture cards to Jim over here.
Okay.
Okay, what'd you hand Jim?
I gave him the court cards.
Court cards. Okay, so Jim, you have the court cards now, and now I'm ignoring him. Say, Jim, you've got the court cards. Okay, now we're going to keep eliminating these. So now I want you to hand either the jacks, queens, or kings back to Daryl, and we'll use those.
Or to the third person,
Or to the third person if there's
whatever.
more line.
Yeah.
Yep. but then you keep this motion going, and now it's every choice is done by a different person or alternating people, and as opposed to every choice being from Daryl. And so now you've got this thing that they really can't backtrack, because either Daryl did all the choices and I never left my attention from Daryl, or every single human made a choice that was all logical and all the same until we ended up with one card. Based off of that first thing where it's either Daryl started the train down or it just locked into just him.
And if you have more people, you're just going to go boom, 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 and stop somewhere, right? You don't feel the need to invent extra questions to ask people to involve them. You just, whatever your next trick is, do it for them.
And so just to be clear on that last one is if he passes them off, I'll kind of show you. We'll imagine there's, 2 or 3 people on the other side. And if not, you just imagine this is ping pong. But basically I'd say, Daryl, you got the numbers and the picture cards. Which ones do you want to hand off?
The picture cards.
Picture cards? Okay, great. So we've narrowed it down to just the picture cards. Now Jim, I want you to take, the jacks, queens, or kings and pass them off to the next person. Okay, great. You pass off the queens? Okay, great. Now I want you to pass either the reds or the black queens off to the next person. Which ones you hand them? The red queens? Great. Now I want you to take one of those and just get rid of it and keep one for yourself. And you got a card in your hand and you're picturing it, don't tell me. And now the person who's thinking of the card is like way over there, which is great too. And so that's how that looks.
Yeah. Now, something else, since we're talking about equivocate, there's a couple choices. There's gimmicked cards included with Summit, but you can do this with real ungimmicked cards. You can do that either by purchasing 2 and having a set of black court cards and a set of red court cards. You can do it by, as we mentioned before, there are cards that are more likely to be chosen. So you could just do this with the hearts and the spades. And you could do this where you're going down this, what before we said was 90%. Now you're at 75% sure that you'll get them on one of these cards. You can be forceful with them and as not mean, but make them say what you want, as we had said before. Or we're doing equivocate, so you just do an extra equivocate and find a way that works for you. Yep. Where it's great. So we have number cards and picture cards. I want you to take out one and take out the picture cards. Great, and then you can let them choose any picture card. Now they have the jacks. You say great. So I want you to throw 2 of them on the table. Are you going to throw the red jacks or the black jacks? And whatever they throw on the table, that can now, throwing it on the table could mean getting rid of them, could mean keeping them, whatever. I mean, you have to whittle it down so that you're getting rid of the 2 cards that are least likely chosen, or do this trick with just red or just black, right? And whatever way you pick, you'll just have to adjust your equivocate that way. But then the great thing is they get to fully unroll the card and could keep it.
Another quick option for you if you're trying to think of other ways to do this is you can just force a bank of cards. So if you have 6 cards you want to force, and then you have them, and then let's say they're marked, right? That's a good option too, because then you can really get something crazy. It's get some cards, take out some cards, mix them up, drop some on the ground, take the other one, whatever it is, and they're left with a single card in their hand and it's marked, or you eliminate it by having them eliminate them face up so you saw what card they didn't end up with, so and you do the same thing. I want you to write down or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
And at that point, they're not even court cards or anything, because it's
just
forced from a bank. It could be anything.
Yep, so forced from a bank, don't matter, so.
You guys already know this, but you can get a couple decks of cards and build a forcing deck where the 6 cards that are repeated in your index, you could put those every other card in this deck that you're building. So it's some random card, and then the 7 diamonds, some random card, and then the 6 of clubs, and on through the whole deck. So now you can give them this gimmick deck that you made, have them deal down and stop wherever they want, and based on you seeing, you can either tell them that that's their card, the last card they dealt face up, or you can say that, okay, that's where you want to stop. Then the next card, I haven't seen it. I don't want you to let me see it. Just take a peek, look at it. Great. Now I'm going to ask you a couple questions about your card. And then you can start asking whatever questions you would need to ask to find out which one from your index. And it plays the same way as Standard Summit, where we're asking you questions. Was it a court card or a number card? Was it red or black? And it plays the same way, except it's a full card that they get to unroll and keep, and it matches the card they selected from the deck. And yeah.
So again, I know equivocate scares a lot of people, but enjoy it. Have fun with it. If you want some more resources, make sure you check out Instagrab with a B from Patrick Kuhn, and also check out Inferno by Joshua J. One of our buddies performs that trick every time we see him, and it's great, and he does it well, and Josh has some amazing touches
on equivocate.
On equivocate, it's great, and so it's really good, and so check that out. Guys, thank you so much for buying Summit from us. This is our biggest passion project. been in the works. We had so many hiccups, so many production nightmares.
Just look at
packaging.
this box, isn't
dude,
it sick?
This is like our proudest achievement. Like if me and Daryl had a baby, this would be it. And just thank you guys for all the support throughout all the years, man. Like we get to do this for a living because you guys support us, and just we're so grateful for you. If you guys have any questions, reach out to us on social media, Instagram, abstracteffects.com. We're there to answer any questions, hear your ideas. We love hearing what you're going to come up with. Every time we're fooled by our own tricks. So guys, from the bottom of our heart, thank you so much for picking up Summit. This is what we want to do at Abstract Effects, and you guys are part of it, and it's all thanks to you. Thank you.
Love you guys. Couldn't do it without you.
Peace out, guys.
We
forgot it's for Zoom shows too, and then Daryl's gonna tell you how to do it for Zoom shows. We totally spaced it. We're like putting down all the cameras, but we can't not tell you about this.
Yeah, we're done. We just filmed the explanation. We're like, oh, yo, but this is great for Zoom shows. Basically, it's all the same. You can have your little index set off camera. You don't have to have it in your pocket anymore. You have somebody go through either, as we said, the equivocation process, or have them name the card and get them to the court card. Get them down and down and down. You're going to load the Sharpie in yourself as you're tapping the business card that you're going to write on. You say, great, for the first time, name your card. Oh, Queen of Diamonds. Let me write that down. Oh, the Sharpie doesn't work. Dang, these things get clogged. Pop it open, pull it out, unroll it, immediately show it. This trick is great for Zoom. It even gets that moment where the Sharpie doesn't write and everyone's like, oh no, feeling bad for the magician. That got that classic magician in trouble plot. Works perfect for Zoom. It's super visual. Mentalism is great on Zoom, and this is even better because it's like visual mentalism, the perfect crossover of magic, mentalism. Do it on Zoom. Do it live. Do it for your friends. Do it for your family. That's Summit. And your dog.